Hi, I'm Cliff, and this is my garage. And today, we're going to take another shot at spray painting the walls here in the garage. But this time, instead of HVLP, we're going to use an airless sprayer. Hey, welcome back to the garage. And if this is your first time joining me, thanks for dropping by. Now, in our last episode, and if you didn't see it, I'll put a link to it right up here somewhere, we tried to use a very nice HVLP spray unit from Fuji to paint the walls here in the garage. And it didn't work out all that well. And nothing wrong with HVLP or Fuji. It's just a case of the wrong tool for the wrong job. In this case, it was the spray cup on the spray gun. It was just so small that I ended up spending half my time going back and refilling the cup over and over again because we were covering such a huge area. Now, HVLP is probably, at least for me, is going to be wonderful for smaller jobs. I really liked the way the gun sprayed, the way it handled, and it was really a joy to use. It was just the cup size was just killing me, having to refill it over and over again. So I decided, as much as I didn't want to spend the money, that an airless sprayer was really the way to go. So I started doing research on airless sprayers and also looking at the requirements of Kills water-based primer, which is what I want to spray in here. And I go into the reasons why I want to do Kills in the last video. But Kills says that you need a tip size, or an orifice in the tip, of at least 0.17 inches, up to 0.0223, something like that. Well, the smaller airless sprayers couldn't run a tip that big. They could only go up to maybe 0.015 at most. So I couldn't really use one of the small units. I had to step up, in the case of Graco, I had to step up to one of their kind of medium prosumer kind of models. And as luck would have it, the very day I decided that one of these Graco Magnum X7s would fit the bill, Home Depot puts them on sale, which was great. Normally, they were like $390, and they had them on sale for $340, $50 off. So I think, all right, I'm all set. I tried to go online and order it for pickup the next day, and there's some issues. It wouldn't let me do it. So I get up the next morning, drive into Home Depot. I go to check out, and the guy quotes me the price, and I'm like, ooh, that's what? How much was this? Well, it was ringing up on his register as $430 instead of $340. We're talking a $90 difference. So looking at, no, wait, look here. On my phone, I had the Home Depot website saying it was $343, I think. So he looked at it, and there was some back and forth, and then he called a manager over to try and figure it out. Well, it turns out that the wording on the website was really kind of confusing. It was saying that this was a sale they were having, and it said, also available for purchase in store. Well, apparently what it meant was also available for purchase in the store, but not at this price. Ultimately, though, very nice manager. She agreed with me that this was misleading, and I got the $343 price instead of the $430. So that saved me, what is that, $87. So I was happy with that. So before we get started trying to spray with this, just some initial impressions on the unit itself. Overall, it seems decently built. A couple of things I really don't like. I don't like the spray gun. It feels cheap to me, and also the way the handle is made, it kind of pinches the palm of my hand here. Not hard, but enough to be annoying. I just don't like the way it feels in my hand. This can be rotated to change your fan pattern, the direction of your fan pattern, but adjusting it loosens up the nut that holds it on. So that maybe I just haven't figured out how to use it properly, but that just seems a little weird that you have to deal with that. Also, this hose is really, really stiff and clumsy to work with. It wants to coil up and kind of tangle, And what's bad is that this gun does not have any kind of a swivel, or this hose doesn't have any kind of a swivel built into it. So if I want to hold the gun this way, the hose is pulling it back the other way. The coil in the hose, it won't twist. It has no real twist to it at all. But I have a couple ideas how to fix that. I've got some parts coming, and so I'll do another video. I've got this, and I've got some other mods that I think are going to make it easier to use and easier to clean. And as I said, I'll cover that in a separate video. Now, another thing I'm not really too keen on about this, and I'm guessing it's just the nature of the beast when it comes to airless sprayers, but setting them up to use and then cleaning them up and getting ready to put them away is a really kind of a pain in the butt complex process. There's a lot of steps to go through, changing various switches back and forth and doing various things. Reading the user's manual, watching some videos online, I finally, it got so confusing, I had to make myself a checklist of how to start it up and shut it down. And as you can see, it's a relatively long checklist. I'm not sure how clearly this is coming through on the camera, but there is like probably 20 steps to this. And this is just to start it up. To shut it down is, I think, maybe even a slightly longer checklist of stuff you have to do. So it all makes sense, and I'm sure after doing it a dozen times, you know, someone that does this every day is second nature to them. It all makes perfect sense. I understand why each step is being done, but remembering all of them in order was going to be a huge challenge. So I decided to make myself a checklist. I wish they weren't quite so complex. Compared to HVLP, this is really complicated. So I don't think it's anything to do with Graco. I think it's just the nature of the beast, and the beast is kind of a pain in the butt. So having said all that, let's start going through the process of setting this thing up and getting it ready to spray. Okay, so to get this thing ready, we're going to need our paint that we're going to spray. We're going to need a bucket full of water, and I have way more water than I really need here, I think. And then you need another waste bucket, and I've got a little bit of water in the bottom of it so that any paint that comes out won't just dry in the bucket. Now, this is the process you would use if you're taking a sprayer out of storage. It hasn't been used for a while, because when you store it, you put a special storage fluid in it in order to keep it from rusting up. And so the first step is you're going to need to flush out that fluid from the pump so it doesn't contaminate the paint. So referring to my handy dandy checklist, the first thing we need to do is change the pressure knob to minimum. So it's set to minimum pressure now. And now over here is what's called the prime valve. We take and we open this up. Oh, and there's actually already some fluid leaking out of there. Okay, so we open up the prime valve. We changed it to the prime position. Okay, then it says to separate the tube. Let's move this out of the way. Try not to spill the water. And you have two tubes here. This is, well, this is supposed to come off with it. This small one is the drain tube, and this larger one is the suction tube. So we put the drain tube into the waste bucket. Let's see. And put the suction tube into the water. This particular model has something called the push prime button located over here, and it says we push it twice. And that loosens up some kind of a ball valve in there. And then we turn the power on, and it doesn't start. And we just, and it says turn the pressure up until the pump starts to run, and let the water run through. Until, there we go, The water's running out. And it says until the water runs clean. Okay, maybe I need to do a little more. It says about 30 seconds or so. And then we turn the power off. Now, to me, that water coming out looked really clear and clean after just a few seconds, but it does say to go around 30 seconds. Now that we've flushed the protective fluid out of the pump, our next step, again, referring to my checklist, is to put the suction tube, making sure that it has the filter on the end, into the paint. And slide it under here, and then take, and again with the waste tube or the drain tube into the waste bucket, we turn the power back on and leave it on until we see paint start coming out the drain tube. Alright, then we make sure we've attached our hose, which we've done, and everything on the gun is all set up the way I want already. Take, it says here, okay, remove the guard and the tip. Set that aside. Point the gun into the waste pail, hold the trigger, set the prime valve back to spray, power on, and then we let it run. Now we're priming the hose. We let it run until we get paint coming out of the gun. Okay. Now we reinstall the tip and guard. Now we take the drain tube, and I've seen people take and just stick this down into the paint. Seems kind of messy to me. When this would be the best way to do it, would just be to go like this instead of sticking it down into the paint. And I've seen a couple of videos where the painter did this also. Put it a little further down so that the paint can drain out of the tube. And I think now we are set to go. Now here's where things get a little interesting. We need to figure out the right pressure to spray at. And according to the directions, we start off with the pressure set to the start position and then apparently adjust from there. So let's just see what kind of a spray pattern we get. Oh, that looks pretty good. Wow, that looks great. I mean, we've got really good coverage. There's a nice feathered edge. We don't have a problem with what's called fingering, where you get a really heavy band at the edge here. Now, this is Graco's newest setup called True Airless. I believe it's True Airless. And supposedly it does have a softer edge and doesn't have, it's not as prone to problems with the fingering. At least, hopefully, I'm saying there is a problem where if you spray with not enough pressure, you get, well, let's see, you'll get a lot heavier spray here along the edges. Now that isn't a whole lot of paint coming out. Let's try turning the pressure up. And let's try this again. Oh yeah, that's a lot more paint, but I'm still getting a really nice feathered edge, super easy to control. Holy cow, this is wonderful. I like this, and you know, you can see how well it covered. Let's just try spraying this here. Let's see, make sure you can see this. And the Kills is covering it very easily. Now, the HVLP was perfectly capable of doing the same thing, but I'd have already run out of paint in the cup, I think, on the HVLP system at this point. Whereas I'm just going to town. I'll be able to keep going until I drain that 5-gallon bucket of paint. So yeah, I am like super happy with this. And easy. My goodness, it was easy to. I'm sold. This is the way to go. All right, let's start tackling this for real. I'm going to take and loosen this up. We're just going to turn it to the side and then tighten it. Wow, what a pain. Okay, so let's start. Already fighting this hose. This is so tremendously easy. I just can't get over how easy this is. That looks great. Now we do have some stuff, and I'm not sure if this is coming up on camera, but we do have some stuff that's bleeding through. And that's not the lack of ability of any problem with the sprayer. That's just Kills not locking that in yet. And probably sure a second coat's going to take care of that. Get a little better up there. Again, I have very little experience. With my entire sum of experience is using the HVLP unit the other day. So a lot of any unevenness is just going to come from the fact that I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, have I mentioned I don't like this hose? And this whole thing with the bottom of the wall being exposed, not having OSB on it, and all that, that's all explained in the last video. So if you really want to know, go check that out. Okay. Oh, forgot to take the lock off. Okay, that went very, very quickly. I can see that I wasn't laying down enough paint. I mean, I'm going to get better at this. We probably need to do a second coat, partly because this surface is so rough, but overall, this is just coming out looking so good. Well, I'm definitely sold, like I said before. The hose was not as big an issue as I thought it was going to be. It's still kind of a pain that this end doesn't swivel, and moving the head back and forth, I find most of the time when I need to change my pattern to a vertical, turning the gun this way was no big deal. So again, that's not as critical as I thought it was going to be. So overall, I am just super happy. Okay, well, I'm going to call it a day, and what's nice is that since I'm going to be spraying again tomorrow and probably over the next several days, I don't have to completely break down the sprayer and clean it every time. according to Graco, all I need to do is take some plastic here and cover up the bucket. I'm going to take this and use a couple of clamps, one to pull it tight around the tubes here, and then another to try and see if I can pull it tight around the bucket itself. And that should form a pretty good, maybe not seal. And then I'm going to take this drop cloth, kind of lay it on top to sort of weight it down, keep the edge of the plastic on the rim of the bucket. Not really sure that's all that necessary, but I don't think it can hurt either. Just using the water here in the waste bucket. Clean off the overspray. I didn't notice a whole lot of overspray when I was working, but I think there still was considerably more than we had with the HVLP.